that one hurt. You know the moments that I'm talking about. The ones where something doesn't go the way that you hoped it would. The opportunity you thought was meant for you. The relationship you believed would actually last. The plan you worked toward, prayed about, and believed in, only for it to fall apart. And in those moments, it's easy to sit in the pain of the letdown. It's easy to replay what happened, question what you did wrong, or start believing that maybe good things just are not meant for you. It's also easy to blame, develop a cold heart, and camp a permanent tent where self-pity and anger lie. But here's the truth. Being let down and disappointed does not mean your story is over. Just because something didn't work out the way you expected doesn't mean it was for nothing. Sometimes the hardest moments in our lives are the ones that challenge what we believe about ourselves and our future. We may even start believing that the opportunities that didn't work out must not have had a purpose at all. So today we're talking about those moments, the ones that make you stop and say, well, that really hurt. What now? In this episode, we're going to ask these questions. What do we do after disappointment? How do we move forward without becoming bitter, guarded, or hopeless? And how do we keep believing that good things can still happen for us, even after something didn't work out the way that we hoped? And finally, how do we choose the high road when the pain makes us want to drive straight down the low one? Let's get into it. Hey guys, it's your host Maddie on the High Road Podcast. This is season 3, this is season 2, episode 3. I've done so many takes, I'm not redoing that. And the title of this episode is, well, that one hurt, moving forward after letdown. When we are let down and disappointed, it is about the worst frickin' thing in the world, I swear. Coming from me, I think I am like the person, the epitome, the poster child of things that have not gone the way that I planned. And granted, I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story and how eventually over time, I'm grateful that things didn't go the way that I initially wanted them to. But when you're in the middle of it, it's so hard. It's so hard. So if you right now are about to turn your phone off, if you're about to turn this episode off because you're like, I do not want her to tell me while I'm in the middle of disappointment and letdown and this freaking sucks, that it's just going to get better, right? Now, we know on the High Road Podcast that we're going to have some of that positive talk. Of course we are, but we're also going to be real. And so I'm going to go through the real parts of this. So stay with me. When we have letdowns, they hurt so much because we had hope, right? The more that we hope, the deeper the disappointment when things don't go the way that we planned. We take the courage to believe in something, to be vulnerable, and then to possibly be let down. It's like hell on earth. It's terrible. The uncomfortable feelings that come with it. And it's not just, right, like when we're kids, we're supposed to be told, no. That's good parenting. Telling your child, no, you don't get your way, right? That's so different. You don't get your way by like getting a toy at the store when you're a kid, right? That's different than when someone lets you down. When that relationship totally blindsided you, that person that you trusted, that person that you were vulnerable with, they completely let you down. In fact, they changed into a whole different person. Your friend bailed on you time and time again. Your brother broke his promise. Or maybe you even let yourself down. In whatever case it is. Maybe you just aren't losing weight, or you keep having goals and you keep letting yourself down. You keep caving. And time after time, You have hope for these things that you're putting so much energy, so much effort into, so much vulnerability. You're trying, and then it doesn't work out the way that you wanted it to. We hear the phrase, don't get your hopes up when we're kids, right? Don't get your hopes up. We might not go to the store. Don't get your hopes up. We might not go to the arcade. And then as we get older, or maybe as we gain more experiences of being let down and disappointed, we understand why people say that. Because when we get let down and disappointed, it hurts so badly. I am someone with my past experiences where I have been so disappointed from what other people have done. And it got to the point to where I became very hyper vigilant, where it almost was like my natural reaction was making sure that I was protecting myself from anything at all costs. And everything just kind of felt like a threat to me. And so I just was very hyper fixated on making sure that I had, control, and I was able to get myself out of situations if I needed to, and that I wasn't very vulnerable either. And it's been a really hard way to live. I think that that's something that I can take accountability for. Is I think as much as I'm trying to heal my body and heal my nervous system, it's really hard to be calm and to work on being calm when things have happened in your life that have been such a disappointment, that have been such a letdown. Things didn't go the way that you wanted them to. And it wasn't just you didn't get what you wanted. It was like my whole life turned upside down. When that happens, then we don't want that to happen again. So we become more mindful, more aware. And when we're mindful and when we're aware, that's such a healthy place to be. But hyper fixated and hyper vigilant to the point to where we're not letting anybody in can be really unhealthy. And so I want to talk about that today. I think when we are disappointed, when we get disappointed, or when there's a letdown involving someone else, I think our first reaction is really personal. And I'll never forget when I sat in a counseling session and I was just explaining a bunch of things, and my counselor looked at me and was like, but not everything is about you. And I was like, what? What did you just say? What do you mean not everything's about me? Like, duh, I knew that already. But I was very much acting like everything was about me. Like someone else's response, someone else's reaction, someone else's disappointment and letdown was because it had something to do with me. And that was the moment when I really had to realize that sometimes it's just not personal. The first thing we want to do when someone disappoints us is ask, what did I do wrong? Why am I not good enough? Like, why does this never work out for me? We just make it all about ourselves, right? And I think that those are valid questions in a sense. I think that that's just kind of our human nature to some degree. But when we think rationally and calmly, we can also understand that it's so true that not everything has to actually do with us. Sometimes when people disappoint us, sometimes when they let us down, they know very well what they're doing. They absolutely could make a different choice, but they do it anyway. But sometimes there's situations where just it's not about us actually. And people don't always try to disappoint you intentionally. Some people just have a lack of skills. Some people lack mindfulness, like even being aware, which I always say is such a dangerous place to be in. Not being aware of your actions and your behavior and your response to things, and like how it's affecting other people. That's a super dangerous place to be in. could be lack of communication and boundaries. Maybe someone disappointed you and they didn't even know it because you didn't even explain what your expectation was. Maybe it was just the wrong place, wrong time. How many times have you heard that in a relationship where it was a wonderful person, a wonderful relationship, wrong time. We just weren't mature enough. We just didn't have what we needed to make it work, right? Like, it's not always the blame game for this person or yourself. It's not always personal. It has a lot to do with coming down to timing and just redirection and sometimes protection. I look back and I think of all the times in my life when I wanted something so badly, like to the point to where I was ready to control it. And all along it was not supposed to work. Like, I can't tell you how many times I was in a situation where I just forced and forced and forced and tried and tried and tried. Like, the signs were there that it was not working, that it was not for me. But it took me a really long time to listen and to actually be observant and mindful of those signs. And all along to find out that thing that I wanted so badly was not supposed to work out for me, because that was my protection, that rejection, someone not working out with me, a relationship not working out, a job. It was protection, and protection from so many different things, from losing who you are as a person, from losing relationships, from like losing just good things that are supposed to be there for you. A door closes and another door opens, right? Protection is it's such an impactful thing to think about how something might not work for you because there's just something there better, or something that you're being protected from. How many times have we gotten into relationships with people or friendships with people and the true mask comes off eventually? And you're like, whoa, yeah, this is not it. This is not for me. Like, please let this, I get it, why this is not supposed to work out. That's protection. Another thing that we have to realize too is that the enemy of growth is like getting stuck in that letdown. So I said earlier, when we pitch a tent, like, we can feel what we need to feel. We can be angry, we can be resentful, we can, all the things. If we're going to pitch a tent though there, it's really dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be. If disappointment sits way too long, it will turn into bitterness. It will turn into resentment. It will turn into self-pity. It will turn into the fear of trying again. I sat in this place for a very long time. For a very long time, I sat in anger. For a very long time, I sat in like hatefulness towards other people. For a very long time, I sat in self-pity. Oh my gosh, the pity parties that I threw myself. When we're stuck here, it is not a good place to be. We can like just temporarily be here. That is okay. And whatever that timeline is for you, that's for you to decide whatever that boundary is. But it's really, really important to set a boundary with yourself when you are dealing with disappointment, dealing with letdown, things that were way out of your control, to be able to be like, okay, so all of these really bad things don't set in. I'm going to give myself until next week. I'm going to give myself 2 hours today to be angry. I'm going to get, like, whatever your boundary is, set a boundary with yourself so you don't get stuck there. Because that's when you stop believing that good things can actually happen. I told you earlier that I struggle with vulnerability and being hypervigilant. I have such a fear of trying certain things again. Now, don't get me wrong. I try them again. It doesn't mean that they always work. But we can fear those things. That's okay. But refusing to try again is a problem. Refusing to apply for another job because the last one didn't hire you. Refusing to go out for that thing because you were once rejected. Being fearful is okay, but not just stopping altogether. The real danger is not the letdown. It's letting the letdown then define your future. We have to understand that not every opportunity that ends, every disappointment, every letdown was a mistake. Not every single one was a mistake. Some of them are. I am I'm the epitome of the person that made so many mistakes. And when I say that, I'm not talking down to myself. I'm really just being real. I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of choices that I look back and I'm like, probably should have done this. It is what it is. But not everyone was a mistake. Sometimes we just assume with certain situations, that must have been, that was just a waste, or none of that mattered. I am currently in a season where I've had to really work on this one. Work on not feeling like a certain season of my life was a mistake. I really feared trying relationships again. And so I recently was in a year-long relationship, and that person I really felt like was going to be my forever. And we did family things and we were a family. And now that it's over, it's so hard. It has been so hard. I'm not stuck here. It has been hard to think man, what was the purpose of that? I've really had to rewire my brain in these things because when things hurt so bad, now my kids are grieving, I'm grieving, it's disappointing that it didn't go the way that I thought it would. It didn't go the way that I was told that it was going to. And now having to grieve that and deal with the heartbreak and have 2 little children. That's hard. That's really, really hard. And so if you're asking yourself right now, what was the point? I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to challenge yourself about possibly considering that in whatever happened, whatever disappointed you, whatever let you down, there could possibly be a lesson. There could possibly be clarity, direction, and most importantly, growth. Even the doors that close can truly help us move forward in life. There are so many things in my life where I just think, what the hell was the point of this? I just wasted my time. I put energy into this person. I put energy into this situation, into this circumstance, and this is what I get? There's times when I put boundaries up with people. There's times when, I was promised something. And I'm the one that ends up feeling like I have the consequence. And if you're listening today and you relate to that, it is so hard in those moments to think, what the heck is the lesson in this? But I want to challenge you. I want you to be able just to sit and to wait patiently and to understand that with most of these circumstances, there really is one. It's not a mistake. So before we take a break today, I just want you to stay with me. Because in the second half of this episode, we're going to talk about what actually helps us move forward after the letdown. Not just sitting in the disappointment, but how we protect our mindset, how we keep hope alive, and how we choose the high road even when something really did not go the way that we hoped. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm so glad that you stayed with me because this is the part of the episode where now we're going to dive into tools. We're going to talk about mindsets that can help us go from this place of disappointment and letdown, and we're angry and we're feeling all the uncomfortable things, and that is okay. But what do we do now so we don't stay there? So we don't pitch a tent and just sit in the bitterness and resentment and never try again. When we take the high road, this means that we choose our perspective. We can choose this one thing that can lead us down a road over time that's really going to do some damage to us. And one thing we have to understand as people is the bad thing, the things that are not good for us. Like, this is not the first time that you're hearing this. I know this, but the bad things for us can feel really, really, really good short term. Really good. Like that distraction, that like addiction, that whatever the case is, like even food, like that feels really, really good in the moment. Long term, that person is going to suck the life out of me. Like long term, eating like this is really, I'm going to gain like 40 pounds. We have to be able, taking the high road, doing the uncomfortable thing because it's better for us long term. So when we take the high road with this, we're not going to pretend like it didn't hurt. We have a choice. We're going to choose our perspective. Do we want to do the easy thing now and then our life gets harder down the road? Or do we want to do the hard thing now and then our life, because we have the tools, because we have the skills, because we've done the work, our life gets easier? It doesn't mean that our circumstances are going to get better or our circumstances are going to get easier. It just means that what we can control, that will be better. That will be healthier. So taking the high road doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. It means that we're going to acknowledge our pain, that we're going to sit with ourselves. This just happened. This person disappointed the hell out of me. I lost my job over some stupid crap. Like, I'm so let down. So what do? We can feel all of the things. Acknowledge it. Sit with yourself. This is the hardest part for people. And I am not saying this in like a judgmental way. I'm saying I used to dislike myself so much because when it came to sitting with me and sitting with the things that I felt, I was so like, instead of feeling something that was uncomfortable, I promise you I would find a distraction for it. I promise you I would. And a lot of people we have so many things in this life now that can provide us distraction. We can just scroll on TikTok for a little bit longer, right? We can find somebody to talk to. It takes no effort to put in, like, to add another person into your life. And what I mean by that is like just giving another person access to you. It's so simple. If you want to distract yourself from heartbreak or disappointment or letdown, or this person did something to you, like, you can find another person to distract you from that. But that's crap. Like, I have been that person. There are so many things that I did that I distracted myself just because I didn't want to feel something, just because I didn't want to admit something or be mindful or aware. I promise you that's the most dangerous place to be in. Because you will cycle and cycle and cycle. So we can have that distraction. But we have to stop pretending. Like, stop pretending that things don't bother you. Stop pretending that you don't care about something. Admit it. Sit with it. Not getting that job really bothered me. That relationship and how that ended, that really bothered me. And that was really unfair. And that was really shitty what you did. Like there are things that when we sit with ourselves, we can admit and we can find acceptance for. And that just like we can sit with all those really uncomfortable feelings, the anger, the like even the resentment or the sadness, the grief, whatever it is, we can sit with that. But when we accept it, we're so much closer to where we need to be to move past it. Like I just said, we can grieve. Find new ways to grieve and cope. That's what me and my children are doing right now. We're grieving. If you follow me on social media, I've been like helping my children grieve someone that they really loved. And when things didn't go the way that I thought they would in my relationship, you know, the world turned upside down for them. That was a person that was really important in their lives. And so grieving is so crucial. I lost my grandmother 2 years ago. And going through that was the first time in my life that I was grieving someone who had passed away. I hadn't ever dealt with death before. And that process is so spiritual. And as there are so many feelings that come with it. So just, I encourage you to welcome those feelings. Grief is such a hard process. When you lose somebody, it doesn't even have to be losing somebody. It can be losing something that you had hoped for, something that you planned. Whatever it is, when you lose something, like that's the definition of grief, something that you wanted, something that you loved, something that you cared for. It's so important that you go through the things that you need to and find ways to cope, healthy ways to cope. Refuse to become bitter. Refuse to blame or sit in resentment. Take accountability for you. Whatever happened that let you down or disappointed you, take accountability for what you can. Every single story has two sides, and every single person can have a different perspective. You can be in the same situation with someone and they can perceive it differently, and that's okay. It's not your job to like help that person understand what your perspective is, especially if they're not there, if they're not going to listen. You don't need to talk someone in to trying to understand how you see something. If they see it a certain way, like that's just, it is what it is. But take accountability for you. Don't sit there and blame and blame and blame. Like there could have been 1,000,001 things that someone did that wasn't right. There could have been 1,000,001 things that your boss did that was absolutely not okay when then he decided to fire you. Like, but find one thing even that you can take accountability for. Oh, you know what? I did show up to work late a couple days. Yeah. Like my boss did 10,000 things wrong and handled the situation wrong and was a POS, but this is what I can take accountability for. That puts you back in control. And it is so much less of like a victim mentality. It's just factual. This is what I could have done better. This is what happened. This was my perception. And then that can actually help you change your perspective. I told you earlier that I just decided to pitch a tent. Like my perspective was, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to blame. I'm going to be resentful. And then finally, when I stopped blaming, when I started dealing with my own disappointment and everything that just didn't work out the way that I wanted to, then I was finally able to like rewire my brain. I remember my counselor asking me, what was the good in this situation? And I was like, how could you possibly ask me that? Like, all like one of the most hurtful moments in my life is when I was cheated on when I was pregnant. And it just flipped my world upside down completely. I had this plan that I thought was going to work and it clearly didn't. And it wasn't just like an easy letdown, or like it was drastic. It changed my life overnight. And when my counselor had asked me that, I was just like, please tell me what could possibly be good about that. I was in the tunnel. I couldn't see anything different. But when I was actually able to like take a step back and be mindful and aware and, with growth and healing, it was so interesting when I changed my perspective, the way that I could see my life differently and how I could find good things that came out of a situation that didn't go the way that I thought it would. From like just motherhood in general. I have worked my ass off being a single mom, and all single moms, like props to you, single parents, not just moms. It's being a parent is challenging to the core. And I feel like I have, just made the mindset like I'm doing this on my own. And so therefore, I work so much harder because it's me. And not in a sense like I'm working harder, like without breathing or resting or pausing. I'm doing those things. And I'm finding more purpose in life, and I'm finding more peace and more patience and more strength and more endurance and more resilience because of single motherhood. And when I was pregnant with my son, you could have never in a million years told me something like that. I just had a pity party for myself, and that's just where I was. But when I was able to change my perspective, I realized all of these really amazing, wonderful things that came out of that disappointment. You don't have to understand everything right away. And I tell you that story because it took me years to get to the point where I was able to think of good things that came out of something that was such a letdown for me. And if you are in that situation right now, I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, it's going to be years before I understand why this is the case. Sometimes we find out sooner. Sometimes we may never find out. Who knows? It's that some things do really only make sense later. After you continue to grow, after you just keep going, all of a sudden something makes sense because maybe another door opens for you and you're like, okay, I get why this one closed. I get that now. But at the time, it feels like a loss. It feels like, what you wanted didn't happen. And sometimes it feels like even a consequence. I can't tell you how many times I ask myself, like, man, do I deserve this? Like, I did a lot of not good things. I made bad choices. I hurt other people. I was a hurt person who decided to hurt other people and continue that chain. Like, dang, maybe this is just what I get. And that was such a harsh way to view like my current circumstances, but I think it's also valid. I think it's a valid question where the guilt comes in, and it's just kind of our human nature to think, okay, again, we're going back to what did I do wrong? Like, maybe I deserve this. Maybe I don't deserve good things. But with time, I encourage you to see that there will be redirection or protection or preparation, preparing you for something else. there are so many moments when I think about the powerful stories that people have where it's like something didn't work out for them. And then there was a reason they were rejected. They were like, they weren't ready for the season that was theirs. And then over time, they were able to understand why that door opened the way that they did. It was preparation. They needed to be rejected. They needed to be disappointed. They needed to be let down. It is so hard to see it when you're in the middle of the tunnel, but just give it time. Moving forward requires letting go of the story that we expected. Sometimes we just get stuck because we keep replaying the plan that we had. This is actually really interesting to me because when I started going back to counseling this year, my counselor was like, you fantasize a lot. And I was so taken aback, like, with that question. I was like, what are you talking about? Thinking it's like, I don't know. Like, are you trying to say that I'm like kinky or something? She was talking about how I was always like thinking of how things were going to go in my mind. It's kind of like maybe a coping mechanism for not having control, and like kind of maybe a way of gaining a sense of control. But ever since I was a kid, I realized that I did a lot of fantasy thinking where I had a plan or like a situation, and I would just think about it. And to this day, now that I think of it like that, I realize that I do that a lot as an adult. Like, there's something that I want to do. Maybe there's something that I want to do with my kids, an activity, or there's a job that I want, or I have a goal. I'm thinking about it a lot in my brain, and my brain is just running. And I'm thinking of all the ways and like picturing it out, kind of making a movie in my mind. And this has really not been a good thing for me, because when I'm replaying the things in my mind, how I wanted them to go, we have to be able to accept it didn't go how we expected. And growth happens when we accept. We accept that life looks different. We accept that the path is going to change. We accept that our story is not over. And we also have to be able to accept that we can try again. We can try that situation again. But we also might get let down again. We also might get disappointed again. But that's the beauty in resilience, and the beauty in effort and trying again. Because we know that it still might not work out. But that's just life. My counselor once told me one of the most powerful things, and I know that I talk about my counselor a lot, but there are things that are just like permanently ingrained in my mind that I've been told. And I'm so grateful for those opportunities. And one time I like just came into counseling and I just spilt out everything that I was so worried about. And she looked me dead in the eye and was like, that already happened. You've already done that, and you're still here. And in that moment, like I remember, like my eyes were watering and everything, because I was so worried about a situation and how I could be disappointed and let down by it. And everything that I told her, she was like, are you kidding me? You've already done that. And if you need to do it, you can do it again, because you're a strong, resilient person. The most important thing is that you just don't give up, that you don't just, hold up the white flag and be like, screw this. It's so important that we just keep going, even when things don't work out the way that we want them to. It's so important that we accept it, but we keep trying, because chances are the things that we're worried about, the disappointments that we face, the letdowns. It's not going to be the first time, and it's certainly not going to be the last. And when we're able to let go of that pressure and let go of that control, that phrase becomes so much less of like a struggle and so much more peaceful, knowing that we can only control ourselves. There is so much disappointment and so much letdown in this world that when we just realize that the only thing truthfully that you have control over is you, it is so much more peaceful that way. And knowing that you don't have to have all of this pressure on you, and also being able to accept things for as they are. One of the best times in my life, I felt like one of the most impactful seasons was when I just stopped trying to control everything. And I started just being able to accept things for what they were. And I felt like this huge relief, like this pressure off of me, because I was trying to control me and control other people and control other circumstances and situations. It didn't work. It was too much. You have to remember that your story is not over because one chapter hurt. Your letdown is not the end of your story. It absolutely can be the chapter that shaped you, that strengthened you, and that prepared you. Just because something hurt does not mean that there isn't something good ahead. So many times in our life, we are left saying, well, that really hurt. The plans that we had that just didn't work out, the opportunity we believed in disappears, the thing we hoped for goes the exact opposite of where we wanted it to go. And for a moment, it can feel like everything stops right there. Like your story was supposed to go one way and suddenly you're standing in a completely different place. A place that feels uncomfortable. A place that may have left you blindsided. But just because something didn't go the way that you hoped, it doesn't mean that your story lost its purpose. Disappointment has a way of convincing us that the door that closed was the only one that mattered. That if it didn't work out, maybe nothing will. And if we're not careful, we start letting one painful moment decide what we believe about our future and about ourselves. But that is the low road. It's easy to get sucked into pity parties, regret, and hopelessness. In those places, we can just blame, be angry, and refuse to ever try good things again. But the high road is choosing to believe that one letdown doesn't cancel out the good that can still happen in your life. The high road is refusing to let pain turn into bitterness. It's trusting that even when something hurts, it still can shape you, strengthen you, and move you somewhere you couldn't even see yet. That disappointment can still be an opportunity. Sometimes the high road simply looks like getting out of bed in the morning and choosing to just make it until noon. It means you keep going even when you don't like it, even when you don't feel like it. It means you show up day after day, week after week, until it's just who you are. Someone that shows up for yourself. So if you're in a moment right now where you're thinking, well, that one hurt, just remember this. Do not give disappointment the power to keep you stuck. Your story is not over. That thing that didn't work out does not define your future. And the good things meant for your life did not disappear. And sometimes taking the high road simply means choosing to believe that your story is bigger than one painful moment. Let's keep taking the high road together. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.